You are watching Notepad. My name is Ibrahim Sani. Very recently, TNG and TNG Digital has launched a very interesting product, money market product called Go Plus. I have with me in the studio the TNG Digital CEO, Ignatius Ong, to talk about the product itself. Welcome to the show. Thank you for, every time a guest comes over, I really take the opportunity and effort and time to thank the guest because we are at our new home and it's very interesting to show our guests our new home. But I think we'll get straight to the matter at hand, which is Go Plus.
Yep.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. Go Plus, it's a product that we have, well, let's put it this way, it's always been in the plan since we started the company 2.5 years back. And it is something that we have planned for, developed, and to make sure that the product itself is something that is relevant to the users. So what we did was we looked into, of course, you know, Alipay, our parent company through Ant Financial or Ant Group now, has that product in Alipay itself. And we are looking at it and say, hey, it works here, it makes sense, it will address some of the pain points for Malaysians, especially when we launched the eWallet phenomena about 2.5 years back, 3 years ago. And one of the things is that we want to ensure that Malaysians sees the Go Plus product as something that will benefit them and of course, the flexibility that comes along with it.
Because you guys are slightly late to the market when it comes to a money market product, there's a lot of other opportunities and competition out there. How does Go Plus differentiate itself from all the other products out there?
I think the main difference is that the product itself, we see as, especially for the user, they see it as a balance, right? And the balance is fully fungible. And it actually ties up and complements all the use cases that we have on our wallet. For example, you put the money into Go Plus, it seems and it looks like the eWallet balance. But what it does is that when you go to toll, the deduction comes off from the Go Plus account. It goes to the eWallet and it goes through and pay the merchant. In this case, let's say it would be toll concessionaire. If you go to the 7-Eleven, you go to Starbucks, the same thing. And what it does is it's so seamless, no one feels it. And what happens is that at the end of the day, when you have done all your daily routines, you have your makan, you have your dinner, you have gone through the convenience store to get your essentials, whatever balance that's left at the end of the day now earns you and generate you an interest, a return, and we credit it on a daily basis. So next morning you will see that interest coming into your balance and it's usable straight away.
Are you comfortable sharing with us the rate that we're looking at for per annum?
Well, it's actually displayed on our wallet. That rate fluctuates on a day-to-day basis. And what it does is, at least for, I can give you for the last 7 days that we have actually ran this. Of course, we launched it on Monday, but we started grayscaling it last week. And the rate that is hovering now is between 1.3% to about 1.9% per annum.
Let's talk a little bit about the partnership with Principal Group.
Yes.
The last time we had Munira on, the CEO of Principal Group, she was talking about a possibility of tying with a player out there and trying to launch this consumer product.
That was us.
Yeah, exactly. And it was always important for people to understand that the Principal Asset Management Group has its origins with, at least in Malaysia, has its origins with CIMB. TNG has its origins with CIMB.
Yep.
Effendi, of course, the CEO of TNG per se, is also a former high executive of CIMB, or still is, I don't know.
He still is.
Yeah. And it seems like there has to be something that needs to be said when it comes to the CIMB ecosystem when launching such a product. And of course, CIMB itself is a retail bank and all that. So how do you manage that whole possibility of cannibalizing the kind of customers that CIMB retail customers have with the eWallet that you guys are doing?
Right. I wouldn't use the word cannibalize. It's more on a complementary basis. Why and the selection of Principal has always been that we run an open platform system, right? And we have a free hand in choosing our partners. And when it comes to Principal, I think it's more or less an obvious choice because Principal is one of the top asset management company in Malaysia as well. And of course, there is a bit of affiliation with CIMB, but what we do is all on arm's length. So the discussion we have with them, we want to make sure that the product is not the run-of-the-mill marketplace products where you buy a money market fund, it takes 3 days to fund in, and then when you make a decision to withdraw, it takes 3 days to come up. But what we want to do is something that is, I would use the word revolutionary, whereby that product itself is now fully flexible. Something that a lot of guys out there may not be able to do, not yet.
Yeah.
So this is where the deep integration we speak to, and we spoke to with a Principal to get that thing done. So it has to be something that will excite the market, something that when the man on the street looks at it and say, hey, you know what, it works for me. And the next part of it is we want to make sure that the size of funding in is small enough to address the grassroots as well. So hence the 10 ringgit fund in minimum is there. So if you were to walk into any other asset management company today and you want to buy, let's say, unit trust fund or even money market fund, there's some sort of a minimum cap. Could be as low as 1,000 ringgit, could be as low as sometimes even 10,000 ringgit. So we want to make sure that this is now then cascaded to the Malaysian population. One thing is we've got 50 million registered users, all Malaysians, right? And we want to ensure that now with the distribution that is already at hand, these guys can just easily say, hey, upgrade to Go Plus. I get to, you know, benefit from the asset management product, money market fund product, and that's what it is. It's all about financial literacy for Malaysians as well.
I got two follow-up questions. The
Yeah.
first is we've seen this kind of attack on, targeted towards the low-income group through Riaz, for instance, or Rais. I'm not too sure which one, from PNB, it's slow to take off, and it just was launched last year, so perhaps they need time to grow. Is there some profit to be made with this income group, particularly when it comes to money market products?
Well, let's put it this way. Any commercial company like ours, there would be some kind of top-line revenue or even bottom-line profit that we will work on. But we want to ensure that we plow back. We want to ensure we transpose back as much as possible the returns that we get from the banks back to the users.
Okay.
Hence, that's the reason why you asked the question. I mean, it was a very good question. What is the interest rate we're talking about? We're talking about between 1.3 to 1.9%. And a lot of people ask me this question, how safe it is? What is money market fund? And I'll tell people it's a very simple thing, right? You put in money, I use the word invest. Asset management takes this money because it's money market fund, it's actually reinvested into overnight lending to the banks, fixed deposit. It's within the banking industry. So it's just as safe, as risk-free as a deposit bank account that you have. So that's what it is. But why is the interest rate a lot better, let's say, for example, in comparison to current account or savings account, is because of the fact that the asset management guys will then look and evaluate which bank that needs liquidity during that period, and they are able to give you a better returns. And that, again, we will translate that returns back to the user.
Okay, so the second follow-up question is on the safety that you mentioned just now. Is it PIDM secured?
It's not PIDM secured because of the fact that this has gone through a second channel, which is the asset management. But again, that's what we say. Money market fund is reinvested back in the banks. In this case, Malaysian banks.
Okay, which is also quite interesting for me to ask you this. It seems like there are Sharia compliance sensitive customers.
Yes.
And we know that Principal Asset has a Principal Islamic Asset Management firm. CIMB itself has an Islamic principal outfit. TNG itself as an eWallet should be Sharia compliant.
Yes.
But this product is not or has not yet been certified.
Currently, it's a conventional product.
Okay.
So watch this space. I'm not going to spill too much beans because every time I come on to
you should, because this is the show that you spill beans, all the beans.
So I'll be very frank with you. Within the next couple of months, we are looking at rolling out a Sharia compliant one. But it may not be the same product as per the one that we have now, which is Go Plus, because we have put in quite a lot of modification and enhancements, and hence what I talked about, it can be used for your daily usage.
How big of a deal is addressing the Sharia sensitive customers? Is it a huge market to be spending time on?
Well, I think there are different segments in the market that we address. So it's not just the Sharia compliant portion. You will have also the millennials that we talked about. You know, we have, well, like I've always said, the hardest for me has always been the baby boomers. So I think Sharia compliant is just one of the other segments that we want to be addressing. We want to ensure that we cater to everyone.
I want to ask you a little bit more about the e-wallet space in Malaysia, and the obvious competitor right now is Grab, but of course there's many other e-wallet players out there, Boost for instance, you guys. What's the future like for companies like yourselves in trying to push ahead and be a little bit more dominant over your competitors?
Well, I wouldn't want to talk about my competitors, but I think look back internally, and we want to make sure that when we roll out new products, we need to ensure that it's relevant to the market. We need to continue to excite the market. We can't be sitting on our laurels and say, hey, you know what, the e-wallet's great that we have now. We've got about 350,000 merchant touch points. We sit back, no. We just want to continue to enhance and learn from the other guys outside, not just internally in Malaysia, but perhaps looking even like, for instance, Alipay. What are they doing? You know, going cross borders, making sure that it makes sense for the Malaysians. So, again, your products and your services has to continually evolve. So I don't mind sharing with you one more other thing, which we already launched it, but we didn't do a big show about it. We are actually accepted cross-border today. So if you take our Touch and Go e-wallet, and if you go to Japan, you can actually scan an Alipay Plus QR code, and you will see also a Touch and Go logo at the merchant level.
Okay, it's going to be a big deal once we are allowed to travel.
Yeah, we got that running last year just before MCO. So I didn't do any press release on that or launch. We have actually just opened up Singapore. So these are all the nitty-gritty ones that for a typical Malaysian, and I came from the airline industry, and I know when I fly, especially with a lot of Malaysians going to Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, day trippers especially, the first thing you forget is going to a money changer and exchange money. Bring your e-wallet, you're familiar with the Touch and Go e-wallet, scan pay, come home. Simple. So again, everything that we do, it has to address, and we are in one way or another user obsessed. We want to make sure that we continue to deliver products that make sense to them.
All right, we'll go for a short break before we continue on our conversation with Ignatius Ong of TNG Digital. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back. I have with me Ignatius Ong of TNG Digital. Let's talk a little bit more about the industry per se. Okay. I want to ask you a little bit more about what you think 2021 is going to be like, the predictions that you're going to be like.
Well, we have seen 2020 to be a whole lot different animal, right? Things changed, COVID-19 came in, MCO was a huge game changer to not just us, but a lot of industry. But we find the silver linings, we find the opportunity that exists there. And to be very frank, 2020 was a bumper year for us. We really scaled up significantly on both user acquisition as well as merchant acquisition.
Did you expect that?
Well, I definitely didn't know about COVID-19, you know.
Yeah.
But having said that, we pivoted quite fast and drastically. So without giving too much credit to COVID-19, you know, one of the key challenges we had was also educating the merchants, especially the micro SMEs, right? The one that sells the char kway teow stalls. And what happens is that these guys say, you know what, it's okay, I will just take cash. I don't really know what is e-wallet. I don't want to fiddle around with internet. You know, those are some of the easy same questions.
Which is common and everybody understands that, but it's also easy to convert and I guess activate. In
the point, it's easy to convert and it's easy to activate, but it's just the reluctance. So MCO came in, and I personally experienced it, right? We were lining up with our face masks, social distance, right? And I still recall that I was at this one coffee shop, you know, just trying to get a couple of packs of wonton noodles. And this lady said, like, you know, she ordered like 5 packs. So that merchant was just, you know, preparing the food and all that. Yeah. And she asked this one question, not that I paid her to say it. She said, do you accept Touch and Go e-wallet? And the lady turned around and said, we have not been onboarded yet. I'm still thinking. And the lady said, forget about 5 packs. I'm going somewhere else that accept Touch and Go e-wallet. So it really has the impetus to push a lot more education, a lot more faster. So the onboarding, acceptance, the education, you know, training, I would say, right, has been accelerated last year drastically. Okay. So that's 2020. So 2020, we have actually planned to do quite a lot of things, including the launch of Go Plus. But what we've done is we have moved it to go to 2021. So 2021, for us, we are looking at now, after the Go Plus, what's next?
Since I have you on the show, I mean, while waiting for you to arrive at the studio, I was ordering espresso lab from outside, and his, I guess, workstation is littered with all these QR codes. Yeah. Can we see some amalgamation to like how we see with credit cards?
Fantastic question. So we are.
Why, thank you.
So we are, in fact, the first e-wallet that has now gone with Do It Now QR. So I'm not sure whether you are familiar with Do It Now QR. It's a government initiative which is pushed through from Bank Negara and through PayNet. So we have just signed off. We have just activated in January. So now if you see any Do It Now QR code, irrespective of whether it's a bank or an e-wallet, you take a touch and go e-wallet and scan it, paste, goes through. So that is the whole point of what we call the interoperable QR. And you're absolutely right. Some merchants are saying now, my shop and my store doesn't look like my store anymore. It's touch and go, it's another bank's, all the QR codes. So it will be now what we call it unified to one QR, one national standard QR.
I know you don't like talking about your competitors, and I guess you're
don't
trained.
really have
You're trained to not do that. But do you feel that the rest of the players in this space will adopt interoperable QR?
I think it's a done deal. You got to get on it, to be very, very frank, right? And I mean, if you look at it from the merchant standpoint, if I were to go in there and I say, look, only this QR accept touch and go, and then someone else, my competitor, and say, this QR, anyone, including touch and go. So if you are a merchant and say, I'll take this one, right? Because I open up my whole storefront to everyone.
Exactly.
Right. So if you ask me, with my competitors, I think it's not much of a choice.
One thing interesting is that your competitors come in all shapes and sizes.
Yep.
I would deem, say for instance, AirAsia to be your competitor as well.
Really?
Because they're building a super app.
Okay.
In fact, they already have a super app. One would they call it a super app,
Okay.
right? Grab would call it super app as well. And to be frank, I don't know what constitutes as a super app.
Neither do I. So if you look at our Touch and Go e-wallet, we have continuously evolved ourselves. So now we have gone into financial services. We will be having cross-border. As I said, we have cross-border started, and we want to now expand it to the regional level. We will be looking at, maybe perhaps micro-lending. I'm not going to spill too many beans, but that's some of the things that we have planned for this year and next year.
So tell me more about the micro-lending direction that you are thinking of or looking at.
I will keep that as a talking point when the micro-lending product comes out. But it's something, I'll give a hint, right? And we've talked about it internally, right? Say, for example, you are a medium income earner, say about 5,000, 8,000 ringgit. And sometimes you may need to just go and do a renovation for your house, and you need maybe about 5,000 ringgit to tie it over. Or maybe it's a festive season, you want to throw a party, or you want to do a kanduri, and you need 2,000, 3,000 ringgit just to tie it off before the payday comes in, or before the festivity starts. And what do you normally do today? You call your dad up, not very nice. Call your siblings, they'll probably put down the phone.
Credit card lah, which is 18% or more.
Credit card is, well, only if...
Oh, yes, yeah, you're
Let
right.
me tell you, the penetration rate of a credit card is not that big
Yeah,
in Malaysia,
correct.
right?
Yeah.
ATM card, yes. Debit card, yes.
Yeah.
But credit card is probably, if I'm not mistaken, the last data source we have, probably about 31%. So not everyone has a credit card.
Okay.
So what do? They go to the, I don't know whether I can say in this show.
Can lah. Yeah
loan
lah.
shark, right?
Yeah.
Licensed
Money lender.
money lender.
Yeah.
So what we want to do now is we want to put it onto our app, right? And because you're eKYC with me,
Done already.
I know your
Yeah.
your transaction
Yeah.
pattern. I do credit scoring on you on our site.
Yeah.
And you just need to click a button and say, hey, you know what? I will do the scoring and I say, Ibrahim, you have a credit line, say 50,000 ringgit.
But this is for a retail individual. What
Yep.
about SMEs or
That will come on the phase 2.
the micro
Yeah,
SMEs?
phase 2. So we want to, because if you look at our current wallet, it's all user-based, right? So companies are the e-money license that we have is for user-based, not for companies as yet. So we want to start doing for the users first. But you think about it, a lot of micro SMEs are users, right? So these are the makcik by the roadside selling nasi lemak bungkus, probably drives a Mercedes bigger than mine, but nevertheless, these are the guys who are at user level. So we want to start addressing it step by step, and then we will go to the merchant level.
Clearly, you guys are very busy and you guys are launching this and that.
Yeah.
What about the on-the-ground customer acquisition, the wonton noodle seller that you speak of? It still needs face-to-face, right?
We are, well, now, so we have also now come up with our own in-app self-onboarding. So one of the things that happened last year, like I said, because there was a huge demand for merchants because people were not sitting around paying by cash. They just want to have the hygiene factor, right, using Touch and Go. So we have agencies who have done it. We have a lot of requests directly into Touch and Go, whereby even our call center were inundated. So what we did was we actually built it in-app. So once you have eKYC with me, you will go to there's this one-liner and say, are you a merchant? Would you like to be onboarded? Click on it. Just do a very, very quick, simple EKYB, we call it. Take a photo of the shop.
Business.
Yeah,
Know your business.
Know your business, right?
Okay.
Take a photo of the shop, send in your statement because we need to send the money to your bank account. And then within 3 days, we'll send you the QR code. We will send you a soft copy you can print and stick on yourself. And then if you want a nice acrylic one, we'll send it to you as well.
That's extremely interesting.
Yeah.
Maybank, for instance, have launched opening account on the app. Everything is done. That's the way we need to move forward.
That's right.
I still need to talk about the regulators, Bank Negara. Do you feel that you guys have close communication with them? There's constant, I guess, progressive updates of each other, you guys are pushing the limits of what the market can do.
Yep.
They are providing the regulatory requirements of the market.
Yep.
How's the integration like?
We work really, really well. We have a close liaison with both my regulators. So it used to be Bank Negara, now SC is also our regulator because of the RMO that we have and launching the Go Plus. And what we do is we complement each other. So you're absolutely right. We are pushing the frontiers, we're pushing the limit of financial services as well, like the Go Plus is one of them. But we work hand in hand with the regulators to make sure that we comply and we address some of their concerns.
So right now, if the customer wants to find out how they can, I guess, start adopting Go Plus, how do they go about it?
Okay, so on our app itself, if you go to the homepage, there's actually, if you have not gone into Go Plus, there's actually 3 entry points. So you will see that our balance is on the top left, and there will be one small button up there and say upgrade now. So you click on it. It's just getting the person's eyeball, entice the user and say, what is this upgrade? And then the other one is, of course, you click on reload. So when you click on reload, where normally they will reload using their ATM card or FPX or even credit card, then you have 2 options. And we make it very clear. If you reload into eWallet, you get your money, you can do all the spending, that's about it. You reload into Go Plus, you get a daily return, you can cash out, you can do exactly the same thing as what you can do in the eWallet. So it's quite a clear comparison that, hey, go to the Go Plus. And we have a shining tile, which is called Go Plus. So you click on it, you will have all the terms and conditions, will explain to you exactly what it is and how risk-free it is as well. But because it's an asset management product, you need to still fill in a couple more information as required by the regulators.
If people want to learn more about the product, term sheet, and all the other stuff?
It's all in there.
All right,
it's
including the PDFs,
terms and conditions,
product disclosure sheet.
Disclosure.
Everything is there.
Everything is there.
On final question on the business side,
Yep.
do you feel that this is going to boost your, I guess, average balances?
It's really boosting it. So we launched it on Monday. As of today, it's gone beyond our expectation.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I won't give you the number, but it's gone
Why
beyond
not?
No. PDPA.
Okay. So you know, I put as I mentioned before this show, I put 80 ringgit, just a testing kind of thing, because on a personal note, it's very hard for me to switch from my existing money market product, one that I'm using your competitor. Like I said, your competitor comes in various shapes and sizes.
Great.
Stashaway is my go-to money market product, the argument for me is that, okay, I now can diversify my options for putting my money, at least my day-to-day money from Stashaway versus you guys and all that.
So Ibrahim, maybe I'll just give you a thought behind how Go Plus was designed for.
Yes,
so
please.
it's not so much of you have an investment in, let's say, another different asset management or unit trust. Or even, or even in shares, right? But it's about the guys that, even for myself, right? I will have at any one point in time 3 to 4,000 ringgit, let's say, in my savings account.
Yeah.
Right? And it used to be before eWallet came in.
Yeah.
And what I do is every week I'll just go to the ATM machine and let's say
draw.
withdraw 1,000 ringgit just to go about my day-to-day stuff. Why I leave it in the savings account is because it gives me a 0.2%. Not a great number, but it's still working harder for me, right?
I don't think people are aware even of
That's
whatever interest that they're earning.
It's just too minute, right?
Yeah.
So worse if you have a current account, it's actually 0%.
Yeah.
So what we want them to say, hey, don't know that 3 to 4,000 ringgit that you have in your current savings account, bring it entirely into this wallet. It's going to earn you a rate that's very, very close, sometimes even higher than the fixed deposit rate. fully fungible.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
So we are not going after
Highly regulated at that.
and
Yeah.
high, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we are not going after the guys and say, hey, you know what, you've got 200,000 ringgit in your asset management or whatever stash here and there. But it's about the day-to-day expenses that then now starts to get to you know, your money in our wallet starts to work harder.
Yeah.
And then the next step, which I just alluded to earlier on,
Which is good for everybody, which is good for you guys,
Correct.
which is good for Principal Asset Group,
Correct.
which is good for the customer, which because they're earning 1 point something percent
Yeah.
instead of 0.0 whatever percent.
And I think the whole point behind it is financial literacy. So we are getting
Yeah.
the guys at the grassroots level say, hey, you know what? Now I know what is money market fund.
Yeah.
And it starts that kind of conversation and say, where do I now, if I want to invest more, let's say not in the bank side, not in fixed deposit, what else? So that gets the curiosity going.
Marketing angle, are you using this Go Plus marketing attack as a money market product or some other?
No. So we are angling it as a balance, fully fungible, earns you a daily returns credited daily.
Why not just market it as money market, senang sikit orang nak?
Not so fast. To be very frank, it's all written there clearly in the product disclosure form, and everything is very, very clearly indicated. It's just that you take, again, like I say, it takes time to educate the population.
Yeah.
So one step at a time, when they start to feel, hey, this is great, this stuff is perfect, right?
Yeah.
And that's when the other asset management products that we're going to be starting to sell on our platform later on makes it a lot more easier.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I wish you all the best and
Thank you.
congratulations on the higher than expected balance growth. But that was my conversation with Ignatius
Thank
Ong, the TNG Digital CEO. I urge you to check it out, and they actually were kind enough to let me in last week. So I've been trying out since last week, and I'm very happy of the product itself. And of course, this is just yet another product that we can really think about how to improve our financial literacy, as what Ignatius was saying. If you've missed any part of this interview, just head on to astroawani.com, look for Notepad over there. You can also search for Touch 'n Go on astroawani.com, look for all the news regarding that company on our website. Until then, thanks very much for watching. See you in the next episode.